Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode, well, I don't mean to alarm you, but I've got a pretty big announcement. I don't mean to alarm you, but I just finished painting every single tank in my pile of shame. From the smallest bolt action universal carrier up to the largest Imperial Guard super heavy, they are all done. And truthfully, I never would have had the motivation to do this without the big painting event that is in the Mordian Glory Discord right now. So if you're interested in maybe finishing off a few of your own hobby projects and you're looking for some motivation, stay tuned as I take you through how and why I painted all of these tanks, and I give you an update on the current state of the painting competition. So without further ado, let's fix paintbrushes and dry brush our way right into today's episode. Attention guardsmen, my ever salty partner in crime, Admiral Simon, has got an important announcement for you.
This September and October, I am doing a charity walk along the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. We'll be raising money for two fantastic charities, our local hospice, Halton Haven, and also the Pink Ribbon Foundation that raises funds to combat breast cancer. As I hate camping, walking, and will be shitting in a bucket for 4 days, I will be particularly salty and would value any support you can give us. Please click the link below for our Just Giving page. Thank you very much.
You heard the man, it's for a good cause, and you all know Simon from the battle reports. That's all for now. Move out, conscripts. So first things first, let's talk about what I needed to paint in order to complete my motor pool pile of shame. Because as some of you may know, I just have a little bit of a pile of shame, just a little bit of a mountain of opportunity. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's completely out of control. So this was not simply a case of, oh, Mordian's painted a lone chimera and he's making a big exaggerated claim. No, there were dozens of vehicles involved in this personal challenge. In fact, in total, I had to paint 32 vehicle models, and I did this over the last 2 months. In fact, on average, this means that I painted 4 vehicles a week, every week for the last 8 weeks. And I know many of you are going to be curious about what it was that I painted. So let me take you through the full list of vehicles in the order that I painted them. I started off with a King Tiger from Bolt Action. This is a model that's been in my pile of shame for 2 to 3 years at this point. And then I went for something a bit bigger, and I went for a Traitor Guard Stormlord. And this was a model that was actually sent to me by a member of the community. So big shout out to Cosmic Drew for this well converted and awesome Traitor Guard Super Heavy. After painting a couple of big boys, I decided to smash out some of the medium to light armor in the pile of shame with a big focus on my bolt action, because I had a lot of vehicles that I'd been building up over the years. In fact, I had a bit of a tradition whenever I went to a tournament, if I got a positive win-loss ratio, something I always aimed for but never always achieved, then I would get myself a treat or two to kind of celebrate and mark the occasion. And so I had a lot of Imperial Guard and 40k in my pile of shame, so I ended up getting some bolt action stuff following this tradition, and I ended up with quite a few vehicles in the pile of shame because of it. And so the next wave of vehicles included a Cromwell, an M10 Wolverine, a Sherman, 2 Matilda 2s, a Stuart, a Type 1 Ho-Ha transport for the Japanese, and then a Puma armored car for my Germans. And then I didn't want to not paint any 40k, so I chucked in a couple of old school Sentinels as well with las cannons. I'm not gonna lie, painting up all those bolt action vehicles really gave me a taste for it. It's a very different kind of enjoyment that you get from painting something a bit more historical. 40k has a lot of epic and cool gothic details, but painting something with a bit of history behind it, that's kind of cool and interesting in its own way. And so I decided to crack out the rest of my bolt action vehicles, and I completed 3 universal carriers and a long range desert group truck for my British 8th Army. And then I went for a mini Hanomag, I think it's the 250 Hanomag for my Germans, and I went for the Marder 3, a Panzer 3. I had a a Conflict 47 mech, the spinner mech in my pile of shame. So I thought, you know what, that'll count. It's a vehicle, get it out there. And then I also painted a BA6 armored car for my Soviets, and that completed all of the bolt action vehicles in my pile of shame. But it did not complete every vehicle in my pile, and so we were back on the 40k hype train for a bit after that. And for the fourth wave of vehicles, I had 3 Deathstrike missiles and 3 Sentinels. Now, the 3 Deathstrike missiles have actually already been used in a tournament after action report. If you've not seen that, I'll make sure there's a link to it down in the description below. And by getting the 3 Sentinels finished, it has got me well on my way to my evil plan of fielding 18 Sentinels. I now can confirm that I have 15 fully painted Sentinels ready to rock and roll. With the Sentinels and the Death Strikes done, we were really starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel, and we got to the final wave, the 5th wave of tanks that would needed to be done to get this mini challenge completed. And I had 5 more vehicles, ranging from the very smallest to the very largest. There was a Cyclops demolition vehicle, a Hellhound, a Carnodon, a Valdor, and a Banesword. This final battle was definitely more of a challenge because it involved painting a couple of big vehicles with the Valdor and with the Banesword, but I actually ended up painting both of those vehicles on one of my live streams. I painted the Valdor in about 6 hours on a regular Thursday hobbying stream, and then I did a special 12-hour painting challenge to paint the Banesword, and I managed to get that done in one go as well. But with the Banesword finished, it did mean that I had completed every single tank in my pile of shame for a total of 32 vehicles. For those of you wondering how I didn't go mad painting so many tanks, I did end up keeping things fresh in a number of ways. Firstly, I painted a few infantry alongside and in between the vehicle batches. So I painted a whole bunch of weapon teams for my Americans and Soviets in action. I also painted an age defense line, which was actually a really enjoyable model to work. I also painted up a command group for my British 8th Army, and I did a traitor Colonel Ironhand Strachan, Korgoth of Barbaria, for my traitor guard. And then I painted about 81 Empire State troops as well. So painting up not just vehicles but throwing some infantry in there was a good palette cleanser. And I also made sure that I was painting in a variety of color schemes. It wasn't just the same green Mordian color scheme each time. We had some bolt action desert colors in there. We had some Steel Legion thrown in there, some Traitor Guard as well. And then of course the classic green and blue of the Mordians. Just constantly keeping things fresh, painting different models just allowed me to maintain that momentum and never really get burned out. But if I'm going to be really honest with you guys, the number one motivation I had for painting all of this stuff up is the TTC, the Trooping the Color painting event that I'm currently running in the Mordian Glory Discord. Some of you may be wondering, what the hell is this painting event? It's something that I like to run a couple of times a year because I find that it is really, really good at helping people clear through their pile of shame and motivate them to do some cool hobby projects that they've had on their desk or had in their mind for quite a while. It's honestly one of my favorite things that I do on the channel because I get to see some really, really cool hobby ideas come to life. In fact, as part of this event, there's a chap in the Discord called Supercuban3000 that recently painted up a full Adeptus Arbites army. He did such a good job on that as well. That's something that I think we've all dreamt of at some point, but thanks to the TTC, that dream became a reality for him, which is awesome. If this thing is tickling your interest and you're kind of curious about how it all works, I'll make sure that there is both a link to the announcement video that I did down in the description below, and I'll also make sure that there's a link to the rules pack that we have for the event. But I'll also give you a quick overview now. Essentially, it is a team painting event. There are a number of pre-designated teams in the Discord. So you've got like the Mordian team, the Cadian team, the Krieg team, the Talan team, so on and so forth. And each member of the Discord chooses one team, not more than one team that they want to support. Now, the team that you choose to support does not limit what models you can paint. So if you've got a whole bunch of Catachan models, you don't have to paint them for the Catachan team. You might want to paint them up for your Armageddon Steel Legion army, or you might be feeling a bit fruity and want to join the Mordians, in which case you just pick whichever team you want. The team names are just there to have something for people to rally behind, or for a team that people just want to join. Okay, so I, for example, I've joined the Mordian team this time, but I haven't really painted any Mordian models apart from my tanks, of course. I haven't painted any Mordian infantry though. And last event I joined the Heretic team. The time for that I joined the GSC team. So I bounced around a few teams over the course of these different events that I've run in the Discord. Once you've picked your team, you need to make a vow. How you do that is you take a picture of the unpainted models. They can be new on sprue, or they can be built up and primed. And you take a picture of the unpainted models, you say, this is what I'm going to paint, this is its total in-game points value, and then you work on it. And once you've finished painting it, you take a picture of the completed models and you post them in the Discord and say, my vow is completed. And if you complete your vow, then the in-game points value of those models that you completed gets added to your team total. So for example, if I paint a couple of infantry squads, then that would be worth 120 points. If I paint like a Lemur's Vanquisher, that would be worth like 145 points. And whichever team wins the event not only earns eternal glory, but they also get a cool badge next to their name in the Discord, so everyone can see them as the event winners. And let me tell you, there are some really, really impressive vows that have been made, and a lot of points have been pledged by the MG community over the last few months as part of this event. And what I want to do now is go through and give a bit of an update on where the teams stand, who's winning, who's losing, and who it looks like is in position to go for the gold. Coming in bottom place at the moment, although remember there is still 1 month, so there's all to play for, is the Stormtroopers, the Scholar Progenium boys. They have vowed 3,575 points, and they have completed 300 of those points. So there's a long way for the Stormtroopers to go, and hopefully they will be able to get those vows completed. Second from bottom, in 11th place, we have the Vostroyan Firstborn with 5,584 points vowed, but only 135 points completed. That is a really surprising result. The Vostroyan team is normally a small team, but one which is very dedicated and always gets its vows completed. So I'm hoping that in the final month, we see a sudden surge of action and the Firstborn jump into the fray. They might not climb the leaderboard too highly, but it would be very cool and very honorable of them to make sure that they do get their vows that they have made done. After this, we start getting into the real meat of the event and a real jump up in terms of points vowed and completed, with a very respectable showing from the Talan Desert Raider team. These guys have not only vowed over 10,000 points, but they've also managed to complete 4,640 points, giving them a 45% win rate, which actually makes them one of the highest completion rate teams in the event so far. So Talan team, keep plugging away. If you can get more of your vows done, you may be surprised how high up you end up in the leaderboard, because it's not about how much you've vowed, it's about how much you've completed. In a similar boat, we have got the Heretic team coming in 9th place with 12,856 points vowed and 4,091 points completed. Now, the Heretic team is currently in an unholy alliance with the Genestealer cult team, and both of them are trying to beat the Krieg team in a grudge match. At the moment, the Krieg team is ahead, but if the Heretics could go for a final surge, if the Eye of Terror can spit out a whole bunch of completed vows before the end of the event, we may see the Heretics pulling their weight in this alliance. At the moment, they are behind the GSC and they are behind the Krieg. Speaking of gas mass, we have the OGs, and that is the Steel Legion team coming in 8th. Now, the Steel Legion have been talking a big talk with 14,000 points plus vowed, but we've only seen 3,400 points completed. I'd like to see the Steel Legion team go for a bit of a blitzkrieg, go for a big mechanized push, and get a few more Vals knocked out. But either way, they have done pretty well on the Vowing front, and they've got a respectable amount of points completed. But the real heroes of the event, the ones that have got the highest completion rate so far, are the Valhallan Ice Warriors. The Valhallans represent another serious jump up in Vals, in the number of points that have been pledged, and they have broken the 20,000 point mark. So we've gone from like 14,000 points Steel Legion, and another big jump up to 20,000 points with the Valhallans. And they've also completed 12,872 points, giving them a 61.87 completion rate, which is currently the highest in the event. Now, if the Valhallans can just keep completing their Vals, they will end up, I suspect, on the podium. But even if they don't complete their Vals, if they get a 100% completion rate, that is very, very much an impressive achievement and something that should be marked down. So, Valhallan team, you are doing amazingly. Keep up the good work. Lurking in the rafters above the Valhallan team, we have got the GSC. Now, the GSC are only just ahead of the Valhallans in terms of points vowed, with 21,032, so about a 200 point lead. That's like one tank ahead. But the GSC are struggling to convert those vowed points into completed points, with only 5,350 points completed. Knowing the GSC team, though, they're going to have a few sneaky completions before the end of the event, and I suspect that completion rate is going to jump up. But if the GSC are sneaking around the rafters, the Elysians are dropping down onto the roof, and they have come in 5th place. The Elysian team are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for honor and glory. They have vowed 22,047 points, and they have completed 10,405 of those points, giving them a very respectable 47% win rate. Now, the Elysians actually did an initial grudge match with the Mordians, and they also roped the ACHTUNGs into that whole thing. And they, despite the Mordians going on a bit of a warpath, as you'll see later on, the Elysians have acquitted themselves very, very respectfully. Not only have they painted 22,000 points in the main event, they've also painted about 1,500 points in the grudge match between themselves and the Mordians. So overall, they've actually got about 23,500 points done, which is very, very respectable. But now we get to the big boys. These are the regiments which traditionally have performed well over the different events and are often locked in a death match to see who will take the glory. At some point or another, all of these teams have got a victory under their belt, I believe. Coming in 4th place right now is the Cadian team. Now, the Cadians are flagging a little bit this TTC. They've only got 22,800 points done, but bear in mind that the Cadian team is still really recovering from the last event, where they went absolute balls to the wall with a grudge match against the Kriegers, and the Kriegers are traditionally the largest team with the most points. So I suspect what we're seeing here is the Cadians still vowing a really, really strong amount of points. They're just recuperating a little bit. Maybe the Cadian Piles of Shame are slightly depleted. And if anything, that's a good sign, because the whole point of this event is to try and clear the Pile of Shame. But now we get to the top 3. And coming in 3rd, in a bit of an upset, we have the ACHTUNG team. Now, the ACHTUNGs represent another big leap up in terms of points vowed. We went from 22,000 points with the Cadians to 31,000 points vowed with the ACHTUNGs. Now, the ACHTUNGs are a force to be reckoned with inside the Mordian Glory Discord. They have won multiple of these painting events, despite the fact that traditionally they are one of the smaller teams. They are really, really good at punching well above their weight. And the ACHTUNGs are no exception this time. They've got 31,000 points vowed, but they've only got 5,500 points completed. But knowing the ACHTUNG team, we're going to see a big increase in the completion rate, and traditionally they do have a 100% completion rate. I don't think they've ever lost that. Maybe they dropped it in one event, but it's traditional for the Catachans to get 90+%, we'll say, on the completion rate. So you can almost guarantee that those 31,000 points are all going to translate into completed vials. And if they do that, then the Catachans can win this thing. Now, the reason I say that there's a bit of an upset in the Catachans only being third right now is because of the Mordians. Not only are the Mordians in a grudge match with the Elysians, but they also are in a grudge match with the Catachans. I'd like to point out that the Mordian team did not start, technically we did not start any of these grudge matches. We did beef the Elysians and the Catachans and annoy them until they felt like they had to grudge us, but technically we did not fire the first shot. Just a bunch of false flag operations were maybe launched into the respective Discord channels. But the Mordian team has been smashing at this event, if I may say so myself about my own team. 39,000 points vowed, with an additional 3,400 points vowed on the grudge match, for 42,000 plus points in total, and 21,490 points completed. That is so far the highest number of completed points. It's not the highest completion rate, that still goes to the Helens, but the Mordians do have the second highest with a 53.96% completion rate. Now, if the Mordians can translate the rest of those Val points into completed points, then we should be in a good position to actually win this thing. But there's a month to go, and there are a number of Vals which are still outstanding. I think that despite the fact the Mordians had a sprint finish, I suspect that the Catachans or the Kriegers may have... Sorry, the Mordians had a sprint start. I think that the Catachans or the Kriegers may have a sprint finish. Catachans, if they get the 100% completion rate they normally get, will beat the Mordians currently, which is scary. And then finally we get to the regiment that is currently in first place for number of points vowed, with the Kriegers coming in with 41,673 points. Now that is a very big number and it's a very impressive number. However, Kriegers do have a bit of a problem. That is follow through. It is very traditional for the Kriegers to do the exact opposite of the Catachans, which is vow big and then have a huge failure rate. The attrition rate in the Krieg team is massive, because the Kriegers have only, and I say only in air quotes here because it's still a very impressive number, have only completed 14,000 points, which is for them a 34% completion rate. Now, the completion rate actually puts them behind a lot of teams, but just because of the sheer volume of points they have vowed, even though their completion rate is quite low, they are actually second at the moment for total number of points completed, total number of points models completed. So even though the Kriegers may end up with a truly abysmal completion rate, through sheer brute force and attrition, they may still end up with a podium spot. But that just about covers it. 3 regiments vying for the top spot, every single one of them in position to claim that gold and claim that eternal glory. I am really excited to see how this particular painting event turns out. We've had all sorts of grudge matches thrown around, and a lot of people have been putting their all into getting as much vowed and painted as possible. And this isn't just idle talk. This is really reflected in the numbers of the event. Right now, the Mordian Glory community has pledged to complete 245,755 points. That is almost 250,000 points worth of models, and we've already completed 87,500 points. Dozens and dozens of armored vehicles, super heavies, and literally hundreds of infantry models have already been completed by the community. and the best is yet to come. There's always the last month when everyone pushes for the burn and goes for that big finish. Now, if all of this sounds like a ton of fun and you want to get involved, you absolutely still can do. There is a month left with this event, and we are going to be running one more before the end of the year. The next painting event is called Kriegsmas, and we tend to run that around November, December time and into the early part of the new year. So even if you don't think you've got time to jump into this event, don't worry, get your models built up, get them primed, get them ready, and you'll have a good start prepared for the next event, which is only in a couple of months. But I think that just about wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. What are you currently working on, whether it's part of this painting event or not? And let me know who you think is going to take the win at the end of the day. If you did really enjoy this video, please go ahead and smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bonbon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.